Welcome back. In our last video, we explored conditional statements, the if, else if, and else structures that allow us to control the flow of our programs. Now we are going to step it up a notch and dive into one of the most powerful tools in C programming, loops, specifically the for loop. So what is a for loop? A for loop allows you to repeat a block of code multiple times until a certain condition is no longer true. And the general syntax looks something like this. This is the general syntax for a loop. You have specifically a for loop. You have the for keyword followed by the first expression, which is usually the initialization, okay, which is like a counter. I'll explain further when we get into the actual code. Then we have the second expression, which is the condition check, right, to know whether the condition is still being satisfied or not, which will determine whether we should still continue the loop or we should break out of it. And this third expression is an increment operator, or acting as a counter. Okay, so for instance, if I were to demonstrate this, so in demonstrating, we could have something like this. Let's say I want to print this try programming pro 10 times. Well, if I run this right now, it prints it just once, right? Let's say I want to print it 10 times in a row. So 1, 2, 3, all the way. You get the idea. I could decide to copy this and paste 10 times and that will work. But that's tedious and cumbersome. So that's where loops come in. So I can use a for loop to print this 10 times. How do I do that? Simple. We bring our for keyword, open our bracket. As I said, the first expression is our counter. So let's say our counter is C equal to 0. We are starting at 0. Okay. And we want to count all the way to 10. So C should be less than 10. But since we are starting from 0, 0 to 9 is 10 loops. Okay. So we'll end at 10. And then after each iteration, we want to increase C by 1. If we don't increase C by 1 after each iteration, we will never end the loop. What will happen is that C will always remain 0 and it will always be less than 10 and it will keep looping and you have an infinite loop. So you run out of memory and then your program crashes. So to avoid that, we increment it. So this is the loop. So now whatever you put within the curly braces of the for loop is what will be executed continuously. So in this case, this printf statement. Now if I run this, it should print that 10 times. And it does, but it's not formatted well because we didn't bring a new line. So let's add a new line. Perfect. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is how the for loop works. Now with this understanding, let's get to the challenge. Okay, so the challenge is saying we'll be given two integers, a and b. For each integer in that interval, if the number is between 1 and 9, we are going to print its English word representation in lowercase. If the number is greater than 9 and even, we are going to print even. And if the number is greater than 9 and odd, we are going to print odd. And just like last time, we don't have to worry about negative numbers. So that's what we are going to do. So when we look at the code, this is A and B, okay? A user will type in A and B. Now the idea is that we are going to iterate between A and B, all the numbers between A and B. Let's say the user types in 7 and 20. We are going to iterate through for the numbers between 7 and 20. So that's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. You get the idea. And it's going to be an an inclusive iteration. So we are going to include the numbers that are acting as the ranges. So 7 to 20, we are going to start from 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way to 20. Loop through all those, and then for each number that satisfies a certain condition, we do what we are supposed to do or what we've been asked to do. So based on all what I've said, let's come up with a simple plan. First of all, what we want to do is loop through the range of values. Okay, then we want to perform the corresponding operation. Okay, so first one, loop through the range. So as we know, we'll have our for loop. Now in this case, okay, our for loop will have to start at A and not 0, because we are saying we want to loop between the numbers of A and B. So we'll have int, I introduce it to C, so let me use C, is equal to A, and then we'll have C less than or equal to B. Why less than or equal to B? Because we want to include B. I told you that it's A and B inclusive. So in as much as we are looking at the range of values between A and B is also part of that range that we are considering. Okay, and then we do C++. Okay, so this handles the first condition, satisfied. Okay, so that means we've successfully been able to create a loop that will go through all the values or the range. Now we need to set up the conditions. So now if the number is between 1 and 9, so how do we do that? Like this. If C is greater than or equal to 1, okay, and C is less than or equal to 9, okay, this is how you write it. What do? We print the word. So let's say C is 2. 2 falls within this range because it's greater than or equal to 1 and it's less than or equal to 9. So what we'll do is we'll print 2. Now instead of writing that whole if-else statement within this, what I'll do is I'll create a function which does that. So we are going to create a function at the top here called print num word, and it's going to take an integer and it's going to print the word for that integer on the screen. Okay, that'll make things simple. So this is our function. I'm making it void because we don't intend on returning anything. So now we can use our function. So if it falls within this range, we're just going to call our function. This makes everything very simple. So you see how powerful functions can be. And then we'll pass in C. Very simple. And we're good to go. And then make sure in defining your function, you bring a new line after all this. Okay. Now that our function is complete and we have satisfied the first condition, so if it's between this and this, we're going to do this. Else, if it's greater than 9 and even. So how are we going to do this? Like this. If C is greater than 9 and C is even. Now for checking evenness, we use the modulo. So meaning that if C modulo 2 is equal to 0, it's even. Modulo simply means that you are finding the remainder of dividing that number by 2. If you divide that number by 2 and you have a remainder, it is odd. If you don't have a remainder, it is even. So if C modulo 2 is 0, then it is even. So that is it. So if this is satisfied, We'll print even. Else if C is and C modulo 2 is not equal to 0, we'll print odd. Okay, so now let's simplify that. Let's work on that. And that is it. This is our program. Very simple, very neat, very clean. So let's test it out. And we passed the sample test case. Let's submit and see. Passes all test cases. So that is it for today's video. So go ahead and try it out for yourself, and I'll see you in the next video where we'll keep building on this core concept in programming.